The title of my talk today is Perspectives. And when you listen to all those lyrics, I hear a line like, I'm grateful for everything that's happened, and I wouldn't change any of it. That's hard for me to say that. And yet I get it. I get it on a quantum level. I may not get it on a relative level, in my relative sphere of living, my body, my mind, me being in the world, but I get it on a quantum level. And so the question becomes, how do you take what you get in theory, as Stephen was saying, and move it into action, as Diane was saying? How do you get all this stuff that we teach and what we know and understand? How do you get it intellectually? And how do you move that into the experiential of it, to embodying it? That's really what this is all about. Have you ever heard the term, has anyone ever said to you that you see the world through rose-colored glasses? Of course not, Tiffany. I'm sure no one has ever said that to you. Joe, people probably say that about you. I mean, you did play Mickey Mouse for a long time. Yeah, exactly. So I want you to think about that for a second. Yeah, Giacomo, do you even know what that means? Okay, good. I don't know how to say it in Italian. Seeing the world through rose-colored glasses. I've been accused of that. But you know what else? This philosophy, this teaching gets accused of that. And I was just accused of that the other day. Being a minister who only sees the good. And I was like, and this is a problem? And they said, yeah, it is, because you see the world through rose-colored glasses, but that's not what the world is. And and at the moment, I was just not in the mood. Have you ever had one of those? How many ministers out there just were not in the mood to have a spiritual conversation with someone who clearly doesn't want to have a spiritual conversation? They just want to tell you how wrong you are. So once I assessed that, I beat that. I just got in there and let it out. I just let out what I needed to say. And I was like, you know what? I do not see the world through rose-colored glasses. I see the world as it is, and then I realize that the world has been created by people, nothing else, by people making decisions that they make, creating the world the way they create it, and when I step back, I know there's a truth behind that. So if that's your idea of seeing the world through rose-colored glasses, sign me up. Because that's how I want to see the world. But it doesn't mean, and this is what's really important, we teach you should only look at the good. But that's not really you should only look at good things happening. It means you should only see the good in what you're looking at, as hard as it is. And to even know when you can't see the good, when it's so impossible to see the good, to make sure that there is a part of you, an authentic part of you, that even if you can't see it, you know it's there. That's seeing the world through truth, spiritual truth. You can call it rose-colored glasses. That sounds fun. But that's our job. So it's not that as we go through this month of gratitude, we should just be grateful for everything. We actually should understand that inherent in everything is something to be grateful for. That's very different than walking around in La La Land saying, I'm happy for all of it. It's all good. It's all good. It's all God. I've told you the story about my house falling down during the Northridge earthquake when we had a religious scientist as our landlord, and all she kept saying was, our house fell down. The wall fell down. Kevin and I had no walls. We put up a sheet and all of our things. And she's just like, it's all good. It's all God. God will handle it. God will handle it. And it was like, but that's still down. The wall's down. I don't know which God is handling this. I said, we go to the same church. God doesn't handle it. People handle it. And she goes, no, you just have to trust God will handle it. And then I handled it because I'm God. Clearly, now I can say that way. At the time, I just handled it. I was like, you know what, Rose? Of course, they're always named Rose. Rose-colored glasses. Oh, my God. Good night. Thank you. It was a great talk. It was like, no. Through me. As me, not wait around for it. So, only look at the good, that gets a bad rap, because some people think that there's nothing, that they don't get to look at what's going on in their lives. They're not real. They don't get down to it and say, this is going on. I need to look at this. I need to look at this from my rose-colored glasses, from spiritual truth, because now I'm going to move it. I'm going to change it. So yeah, can I give gratitude for everything that happened in my life? It's a tall order if I talk about losing my child. That's a tall order. Can I stand back and find the good in it? Moments of good? Yes, I can. Can I also find moments of absolute despair in it? Yes, I can. Now can I find moments of good in the despair? Or am I just going to stop at despair and say, nope, this is how I feel, and this is how it feels to lose a child? No, I'm not. Because I want to do the work, to step back and say, okay, you feel awful. Now what's there? What else is in there? And I got to tell you, that I hear all the time Nora talking to me, telling me to grow a pair, constantly. I mean, it was her little thing that she would say to me all the time. Not so parental, but she would say it. If I'd be like, God, that just makes me so sad. Oh, grow a pair. And so I hear that. I'm like, where is the good in this? And you hear grow a pair, and you're like, all right, thanks, got it. Yeah. The other thing Ernest Holmes said was, turn away from the conditions. Now, most practitioners know I literally am emphatic about this. Ernest Holmes did not say turn away from the conditions. He did not say walk around with blinders on and pretend everything is perfect. He said, once you see what's going on, turn away from the conditions and know the truth about it. But first, see it. You can't change what you don't recognize. You cannot deal with the things in your life if you don't identify the things in your life as things that you must look at and deal with. Bless you. Everybody get that? So it's not seeing the world through rose-colored glasses. It is all about your perspective of life. If your perspective of life is that whatever's going on gets your attention, then you're living, Audrey, a reactionary life. But if your perspective is that there is good in everything for me to be grateful for, and that's your perspective on life, now you're living from that perspective. And you start seeing what there is to be seen. So, you, every one of you, are the final word on your life. Do you know that? Shaking heads would be good. Do you know that you are the final word on your life? Nobody else. Nothing else. I don't care what's happening in your life, you are the final word on your life. How it's going to unfold, how it's going to manifest, who you're going to bring into your sphere, who you're going to move out of your sphere. All of it. You are the final word. But the final word that you have is painted by the perspective you've chosen for your life. We also call it your AEP, your already established premise. So I want you to look at what Stephen Hawking said. He said, there's no way to remove the observer, us, from our perceptions of the world. Now, in quantum physics, we talk about the observer effect. And what the observer effect is that there is this energized field, that when this energized field hits this energized field, we call it the observer, this observer moves energy into this and it changes. So that happens in your life constantly. So what Stephen Hawking is saying, there's no way to remove the observer. There is no way for you to move the observer that you are, to remove your observing mind from the energy that you're moving. So it is very important for you to learn and know and understand, as the observer, which you can never not be, as the observer, what perspective do you have on life? Because that perspective is the thing doing the moving. Do you get it? So you're the observer. Only you. You are the only observer in your life, by the way. There's no other observer. There is the universal observer. And certainly if you're willing to tap into that, and I will get into that, that will be a very good experience. But you are the only observer, and your perspective is the only perspective that's moving your life forward. Love me some Stephen Hawking. So question, are you living your truth of life, or are you living your perception of truth? It's a good question. Are you living your perception of what truth is, or are you living truth itself? Are you living from moment to moment, from beat to beat, from experience to experience, from reaction to reaction? Or are you taking the time necessary to back into this field of pure energy so that you're actually coming from that energy, the absolute truth? And then find a way to hover there and live there as you enter the world. So I talked about it earlier. Stephen and I talked about it. It's so easy to get gratitude, but then we have to step out the door, and I have to deal with the world when I leave here. You're in a bubble right now. We're in this beautiful GTC bubble. But then we're going to walk out of this bubble into the world. Can you walk into the world from this sphere, from this higher consciousness of truth? Or is it going to always be through your perception? Well, here's the thing. If you are the universal, bless you, if you are the universal, then the individual gets to exist as the universal. You get to live your life from that truth. You do not have to accept all of the relative truths out here. Not even your own, Julio. Right? You don't even have to live by your own perception of it if you're willing to really make a sense, really make a real firm inquiry into, what do I believe about life? What do I believe about all this? Because that's the perception that life is answering you from. So, next quote. The physical world, including our bodies, is a response of the observer. We create our bodies as we create the experience of our world, Deepak Chopra. Your body that you're living in right now, the physical body you're living in, is an exact mirror to the consciousness you have going on. Whatever's happening with your body. Deepak Chopra. The physical world that you're living in is an exact replica of what you're living in mind. And think about it. Very often, we accept what we see in the world. We take it in. We accept it as truth. We accept it as, oh, this is what's going on right now. Yeah, this is what the economy's like right now. And then we start buying into that, and now our economy looks exactly like their economy. And it goes on and on and on. So today, since my talk title is Perspectives, I'm asking you to take a look at the perspective you have about life, your individual life. And I love that Deepak Chopra brings this thing up about my body, my world. My body is mine to design, not just to be like stuck with at a certain age. And I am so over. You know, we had where did I do this? Where did I it was on Mental Muscle. I asked them all to write something down. I think it was Mental Muscle. I asked them to write something down. It was like, what brings you, what upsets you or something, whatever the thing was. And I wrote, getting old. And I was like, I wrote it before I thought about it. And then I shared it before I thought about sharing it. I was like, I just told 60 people that getting old was a problem for me. And then I was like, good, it's about time it came out of the closet, because it's a problem for me. And now I can deal with it. Now I can actually deal with it, because I'm saying, anybody else have a problem with getting old? Just your laughter lets me know. 2 hands, right? So, but then I was like, why do I have a problem getting old? You know, Sandy Palmer told me how old she was yesterday. I forgot, and I was like, whoa, amazing. So you clearly know what you're doing, right? Yes. Hate to put you on the spot there. But I really thought about that, and I was like, okay, you do, that's something you want to look at, or you're just going to let it roll on. And the funny part is, I only have it consciously. I mean, I only have it in my mind, because my body doesn't seem to be noticing. That was a joke. But not really. I mean, really, I'm clear about my body. But this thing about getting older, it's not necessarily about I'm getting older and I'm getting tired, or I'm getting, my body's not adjusting well. It's more of I'm getting older, there's less time for me. I'm getting older, there's less time for me to accomplish what I came here to do. You know, when people say to me, my God, but you've accomplished so much already. And I'm like, have I? Have I really? Does anybody really ever accomplish enough? I don't know. And is accomplishment really what we're going after, or is it expression? And that's what I'm getting clear on. I haven't expressed enough of who I am, my authentic self, my true authentic self. because I still have perspectives I'm living from. And I would rather get rid of all of those perspectives, back it up into this field of pure possibility, and then take on whatever I wanted to take on. I was telling Lisa Carey that I bought a bracelet in Croatia, and it was this beautiful, clearly a woman's bracelet. And I was seeing it, and I was like, God, this is the kind of thing I'd buy Nora if I could. And I was like, but I love it. Why wouldn't I buy it for myself? Why wouldn't I wear this feminine, beautiful bracelet because I'm a man? So I bought it, and I wore it for the rest of the trip. And then the thing broke, and I haven't had it on since. But I thought to myself, we have perspectives about our masculinity, our femininity. We have perspectives about I love the younger generation because they're like blowing that out of the water. They are done with all that crap. They're like, don't call me straight, don't call me gay, don't call me bisexual, don't call me. I'm like, what do I call you? How about nothing? How about just loving me? My son, when he said to me, he said, Dad, you keep saying I'm straight. I'm like, well, you haven't given me any reason to think you're not straight. He goes, well, I don't tell you everything. I was like, okay, well, then I won't call you straight anymore. I won't call you anything anymore. You're just my son who is expressing himself. And that works, right? So, we are creating our experience of life, but my question to you today is, from what perspective? So I want to talk about the gift of gratitude. So if you pull up the next slide, gratitude neutralizes your perspective. This is a really important thing to get. When you have a grateful heart, when you drop into just pure gratitude, your perspectives go out the window because gratitude takes over. So when Mother Teresa said, if I just live from love, my life is handled. I don't know how she said it, but something like that. She's right. If I just stay in gratitude, my perspectives are not going to guide me. Gratitude's going to guide me because my perspective is gratitude. It clears away the muck. It's hard to have a grateful heart and be mucky at the same time. So you want to get out of the muck? Start being grateful. It raises your vibration. The gratitude vibration is so high. Do you ever feel like just high when you're like so happy and grateful, Suzanne? Just happy, grateful, and you're like floating on air. That's because the vibration, gratitude's vibration is so high. It's a high level of consciousness. So it activates observation to a high level of consciousness. So what it means is you get into that energy of gratitude, your consciousness raises up, and now you're navigating life from that perspective. Wouldn't you want to live from that perspective more than any other perspective? Show of hands. How many of you would like to live from that perspective of life? Right. So most of us, all of us, would like to live from that. So on Friday night, we did a wine and wisdom at my house. It was by far for me the greatest wine and wisdom we've done. Partly because it was my house. No. Partly because, everybody came to me. It was so much better. Partly because I changed up the wisdom part. And I gave out everybody got their own affirmation. And then we all went into the living room, sat in front of the fireplace with our wine, and everybody read their affirmation. But they hadn't read it yet. So we got to see them read it, and we got to see their reaction to it from reading it the first time. And it was great. And then they told us what their feeling was, what they felt from reading it. It was so, so great. The vibration in that room, right, Tiffany? The energy in that room got higher and higher and higher as we went through every one of these quotes. So I brought a couple of the quotes for you. Next. Deepak Chopra. Gratitude opens the door to the power, the wisdom, the creativity of the universe. Everything gets unleashed when you find yourself in a consciousness of gratitude. When you are coming from love and being so grateful to everything that's going on, as he says here, you get wiser. Your creativity, you just start wanting to create. Next one. By Tony Robbins. When you are grateful, fear disappears and abundance appears. Now the funny part of this quote was, everybody picked a quote out of a hat, literally out of a hat. They picked a quote, and the last quote that was read was that one. And the person that read this quote, she opened it, read it, and just burst into hysterics. And I couldn't figure out what quote I gave her that was funny. But she then shared with us, she read the quote, and then she shared with us that just, I think it was a week before or 2 weeks before, she had just quit her job with Tony Robbins. And she was like, of all the quotes for me to pick out, I pick out Tony's quote. And she said, but it made me realize I made the right decision because I went with my heart. So that was fascinating. But I like what he says here. When you're grateful, fear disappears. You can't be grateful and have fear at the same time. Pick one. You're going to pick one. And all you people out there that are constantly telling me, what is that called when you do many things? Multitasking works for you. How many people do like multitasking? I know you do, honey. Yeah. Okay, good. Yeah. So, really, Stephen? Absolutely. Okay, good. So, multitasking is the enemy of efficiency, and it's a misnomer. It is a misnomer. You cannot multitask. You cannot. Your mind will always focus on one or the other, or the other, or the other. You cannot focus on the two things at the same time. It's impossible. Of course, I say that, and I now realize that I don't believe anything's impossible. But what they tell us, you always are focusing on one of them. So you may be multitasking, but you're doing this, then you're doing this, then you're doing this, so nothing gets your attention. I know I'm not going to talk you out of this. I can't talk him out of this either. Multitasking is the enemy of efficiency. But, what I love this, gratitude. If you are grateful, you cannot be judgmental. Really, Eric? I said that and he literally went, pfft. Oh my God, I'm killing myself up here to get this point to you. If you are grateful, you can't. Why, are you sitting there judging me? Yeah. If you are grateful, you cannot be judgmental. You cannot be angry. You cannot be fearful. All of the above. But maybe you can multitask it. You can be grateful and angry and judgmental all at the same time. The law of polarity. And there you go. Okay, moving right along. My next quote is from Ralph Waldo Emerson, interestingly enough, which is the one Diane used this morning. Cultivate the habit of being grateful for every good thing that comes to you, and to give thanks continuously. And because all things have contributed to your advancement, you should include all things in your gratitude. How many of you have your lists? These are the things I'm grateful for, and these are the people that just drive me insane. Do you have those two lists? Apparently, yeah, Joe does. So what Ralph Waldo Emerson is saying is, it would behoove us to be grateful for all of it. You still get to say highest and furthest. You don't have to have them for dinner, and you don't have to keep bringing up these situations to go through them again. But being grateful for all of it goes back to the other quote, if you are being grateful, you can't be anything else. So imagine if you were just grateful for that stuff that you don't even want to forgive. Does anybody still have things that they just still can't forgive yet? Okay. Someday. Okay, so what if you forgave it? What if all you went to was gratitude? You couldn't be holding the unforgiven if you were in a grateful heart. The unforgiven blocks the heart. That's why forgive everything is up there. The unforgiven is a wall. It's a boundary. It is blocking your good. Financially, unforgiven stuff blocks prosperity. Edwin Gaines has a beautiful book that talks about that, the forgiveness factor. People think that money is money. No, money is never just money. Money is consciousness. Having just done the prosperity workshop yesterday. So money is consciousness. If what you are refusing to forgive, you are putting a block and not letting the flow of life come through. So the next quote is by Eckhart Tolle. He says, acknowledging the good that you already have in your life is the foundation for all abundance. I think we spend way too much time thinking about where we're going as opposed to where am I? Where am I right now? Who am I right now? How do I feel right now? And deal with that. So I love that. And acknowledge what good is already there. And I would like to ask you to try that all this week, especially when you get to Thanksgiving. Acknowledging the good that's there. Every day, notice it. Notice things that you just don't notice most of the time. And this next quote by Khalil Gibran, you pray in your distress and in your need. Would that you might pray also in the fullness of your joy and in your days of abundance. so easy to drop to your knees and pray when things are going bad or when you need help. But would that we developed the spiritual practice of acknowledging all the good. Just imagine what that would do in this month of gratitude, in this week of Thanksgiving, to give gratitude to the friends in your life that mean so much to you. To give gratitude to a husband that's been there for 33 years, through the good and the less good. To give gratitude for your health, to give gratitude for your hair, or lack thereof. And that means that too. This is a good time to have had lack of hair, because it's really a good, what's that called? I wasn't even looking at you, Ron, when I said that, but you're the example. It's great, because that's how everybody looks these days. It's like a great look. I know I'm being silly, but I'm kind of being silly for a reason. Gratitude shouldn't be like this, I'm going to be grateful only for that stuff. No, all of it. Yesterday I made 20 lemon cakes, and I never stopped. Kevin was really great. He was my sous chef, so he just kept throwing things at me and cleaning things. He goes,
"Remember, multitasking."
I'm laughing inside. And I would like to say he was not multitasking. He was amazingly focused on making the lemon cakes. Were you doing something else I wasn't aware of? No. You were just doing the lemon cakes and drinking. Other than that, unless you think drinking is part of multitasking. Steve, is that what it is?
It doesn't hurt.
Exactly. Okay. My last quote. The miracle, this is the one you had, Kevin. The miracle is not to walk on water. The miracle is to walk on the green earth, dwelling deeply in the present moment and feeling truly alive. Gratitude, you develop a consciousness of gratitude, you are tapping into the universal field of pure creative energy. You operate on the ground from that perspective. All other perspectives have no need to apply. They just don't matter. Your perspective of life is difficult. Oh my God, get rid of it. I don't care if you can prove it with every step of your life. Get rid of it. Life is for me to live. There's my perspective. There is good for me to have. There is my perspective. There are the perspectives. And it says here, if I can tap into who I really am on a global sense, there's my perspective. So this Thanksgiving, I want you to make gratitude the centerpiece of your Thanksgiving celebration this week. And I know we all do that. But I really would love to ask you to take hold of your Thanksgiving dinner and ask your participants to spend some time sharing what they're grateful for. And the reason I ask you that, and I know a lot of people do this, but to do it seriously. Not that it can't be fun and funny, but to really mean what you're saying and say what you're meaning. Because I guarantee you, if you do that before you eat, your digestion is going to be a lot better because the energy is going to rise. You are going to be sitting in a consciousness of gratitude. So, this last quote by Henry David Thoreau, I am grateful for what I am and what I have. My Thanksgiving is perpetual. So I get that we're celebrating Thanksgiving this week, but maybe we can finally take the idea of Thanksgiving and live it day in and day out. Maybe we can actually start creating a spiritual practice around gratitude to bring ourselves to that sense, that energy of gratitude that takes our consciousness to such a high level. I want to say happy Thanksgiving to everyone. And I know I talked about it in the beginning. While this time of year does pose its challenges for Kevin and myself and our son, and for many of our friends, really, I get to stand here and say, I am grateful for everything that has happened in my life. And while I'm sad about certain things, such as my daughter leaving, I'm also grateful for the 19 years I had with her. And every time I go to be upset or I get caught, I get grabbed, I merely need to go back and be grateful for every moment I had her. And today, the reason why I got caught so quickly, I was driving up here, and all of a sudden the image of Nora laying in the driveway with her hoodie on when I pulled up that Sunday caught me. And it really caught me. And I was driving into the parking lot, and I drove right over where she was laying, and I remember getting out of the car and just saying, "What are you doing? You're laying in the driveway." And it was a very funny moment. And then she tackled me and knocked me on the ground and hurt me. It was quite a day. But I thought about all that. And by the time I got out of my car, I had not gotten over it. I had replaced the grief with gratitude. That's what gratitude can do. That's what we should celebrate this Thanksgiving. Our ability to use our minds, as I said to you earlier, you are the only one designing your life. If you design it from gratitude, then you have hired the greatest designer alive, ever, to design your life. So happy Thanksgiving, and design away. Namaste.